work globally as a speaker, retreat facilitator, medium, and mentor. My mission is to awaken and realign you back to your magnificence, your power, and infinite potential. As the founder of the Rise with Love philosophy, I'm honored to share wisdom that will create the expansion of joy, abundance, love, and freedom to flow into your life. If you're ready, I want to hear you say yes, because the most wonderful things will unfold for you when you embark on the journey to rise with love. Let's get started. Hello and welcome to a brand new episode to assist you on your soulful journey. Being part of the Rise with Love collective consciousness, you know, or at least you're becoming aware of the fact that you are loved and supported by beings in the non-physical. This could be your loved ones in spirit, angels, goddesses, and so on. This really does get me excited, and I cannot wait to introduce you to my special guest today, Kerrie, who is a spiritual teacher and a medium to the divine feminine spirit. Her mission is to assist in empowering one's sense of self, creativity, and mediumship ability so that they can live a life guided by love, purpose, and spirit. So, oh my gosh, you can probably tell why I cannot wait to have this conversation. So let's give a huge welcome to Kerrie.
Oh, thank you, Melissa. Thank you for having me. It's lovely to connect with you today and share with your audience.
I am super excited. This kind of stuff just fascinates me so much. And I think, oh my goodness, this is going to be such a juicy conversation that's going to have so many gems. And I can't wait for us to go on this journey together. And over the years, Kerrie, it seems like you've had quite the journey. You've achieved some pretty phenomenal things like creating your own spiritual magazine, running ghost tours, publishing your own book, like just to name a few. Oh my gosh. Did you always kind of think that you would become this phenomenal spiritual leader?
No, not at all. Like, I can remember before I became spiritually aware, having a reading with a guy, and he did a little bit of tarot. They were like miniature tarot cards. And I had just lost my brother. And all I was really interested in was I going to have another baby? And
very important question.
Yeah, those sort of questions that I just don't like now. But he said to me in 6 months I was going to become really spiritual. And at that point, I didn't even have a concept of what the word meant. But it was literally 6 months later that I read the Celestine Prophecy by James Redfield, and that was my big light bulb moment.
Oh my gosh. And out of all the things that you've kind of done, because I mean, I've just picked some of the really awesome sounding ones, right? What's been like your favorite thing to create? Or, I mean, give us a little glimpse on what happens on a ghost tour. Like, fill us in a bit.
I think it comes from the fact that I probably get bored really easy, but I think the whole thing is, for me, the guidance has always been there to step into some new project or do something new. And literally it has come from the fact that I've learnt from it. So even running the ghost tours, I found was a gorgeous way for my students to experience their mediumship outside of the classroom and challenge them a little bit. And I know on my tours that generally they're a real mediumship experience, because we'll take time to connect with the spirit world in that environment. And whether you've had mediumship experience or not, whether you know that you are consciously a medium or not, I've had experiences with young girls, like, around their 20s, sitting there getting names that I'm able to validate because I'm able to say, yes, we've connected with her before, or I know about her. And I used to run the tours at Berrima Courthouse. So for most mediums, it's not really a door that they always want to open, because I was, literally hanging out with Australia's first serial killer.
Is that oh, what's his name? Ned Kelly?
No, this was a guy called John Lynch, and the courthouse where I was generally is known for its first trial by jury in Australia. So yeah, not always nice energies, but between us, I trust in my mediumship. I trust it has purpose and healing and love sponsored with it. So he taught me to break down judgment, and he taught me a whole heap about understanding the spirit world, just a little outside of all the love and light stuff.
Yeah, I totally get that. And I always say to my clients, I think this is why I love this connection so much, is because I'm also medium. So I love that we can have this conversation and totally understand each other. And I kind of believe, no matter who you are and what you've done, and you go back to the spirit world as source energy, and that is unconditional love. And we all go through a healing journey as we go back into the spirit world. But just because we've done really not so nice things while we were alive doesn't mean that we continue to be a not so nice person in the spirit world, right?
I tend to find my connections have always shown that when I've come across a spirit that hasn't done nice things in life, whether I've connected with a couple of, I guess, murderers over the years, I tend to find that there's a sense of retribution or wanting to make amends, so that's really why they're stepping forward, is to get it off their chest, so to speak, and really come back to the living and try and make amends. And sometimes that is directly with people that they affected, and other times it's more on a collective level.
Yeah, I totally get that. When people who are deemed to have done things that weren't so great, right, they do come and they want to have this opportunity to add more love into the world. I think that's kind of how I like to look at it, with asking for their forgiveness, right? We don't want to carry on that anger going on and on and on.
Yeah, it feels to me, and even as you're talking, what's coming in for me is that there's a sense of creating balance.
Yeah, I love that. Creating a clean slate as well. Yes. For the next incarnations. So I want to ask you something now, because your journey to all of this kind of began because you mentioned your brother passed, and I hope you don't mind me saying he took his own life. And I know that a lot of people listening are bound to have someone that they know or who also took their own life. And so I would love for you to share your perspective on what it's like to go through having someone who transitions in this way.
I guess that I'm totally an open book when it comes to these things. And for me, it has been 25 years. I will say there's no going around it. It is traumatic. There's really no going around that. But I think when we have loss, there's always a gift. There's always a gift in the experience if we look for it. And I know suicide is a very unique kind of grief, because you are looking for your responsibility in it. What could I have done? Could I have done something else? And you do look back and you do look at the last warning signs. And things like, I know for me to this day, my mum likes to go to the cemetery and she feels to be able to connect with him there. But for me, when I go to this day, it takes me back to the trauma. So I tend to just have, worked with a new relationship with him over the years. But it does heal. It becomes a new kind of normal, really. And you don't ever get over it. It becomes a part of who you are. But the real thing is, grief does shake your foundations. And it's meant to do that, I honestly believe. It's meant to shake up who you are and bring through new parts of your spirit. If you look for that, if you go through the grief journey in a healthy way. And for me, at that time, that gift for me was my spirituality and my mediumship. And I honestly believe that if I didn't have that experience at that point in my life, I was 26, I wouldn't be sitting here talking to you today.
And I think, for a lot of people, and like yourself, their journey, their spiritual awakening or their spiritual discovery or curiosity probably begins when a loved one transitions into the other side, right? For a lot of people, that's kind of what sparks all of this. And I love in a way that you say that this grief shakes us, because sometimes we do need to be shaken up a little bit, and we need to kind of look to who we truly are and what is this life for. And I want to say, not that I've had someone committed suicide close to me, but my uncle, he was murdered by Somalian pirates. And to this day, we've never been able to find his body. And that was like 22 years ago now. And so I know what it's like not to have a body to put to rest. And I don't think I would be a medium had that experience not happened. So there's a lot of things in a way where I love that you talk about how there's always a gift that unfolds. And you and I, we probably wouldn't be doing this work had we not have these people that we love and adore cross over to the other side and probably inspire us to do the work that we do to its capacity. And now I want to kind of ask you, looking at the spirit world, what do you think that those on the other side who have committed suicide wish they could share with their loved ones that are still on earth from the things you've experienced as a medium?
I guess the one theme that comes through from connecting with those that have passed from taking their own life is really the fact that at some point in their journey, there is a responsibility where they have to step up and own it. And what they do with us mediums is they come back and they take responsibility for causing the pain and the grief. And that is their way of balancing karma, I guess, balancing out the fact that their choice did create the pain that it did. That wasn't their intention, but they do really want to come back and take responsibility for that. And I guess that's the only, that they are sorry for that, but it's absolutely their pain, and they always like to give people an insight into what it was like for them and what led them to that choice. But I'm not a believer in traditional views where they get stuck or where they've got to come back and repeat it and learn the lessons again. We're all doing that anyway, right?
Yes, we are.
It's all about evolution, and I honestly believe that it is love that they receive and understanding when they do cross over. But at some point, there is an onus on them to come and take responsibility.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. I don't believe anyone gets stuck either, though that is something that gets kind of attached with people who take their own lives. It's kind of like, oh, they're such bad people. They took their own lives. They're stuck in this limbo world. And it's actually, no, I don't think anyone does really. And I love that you say that one of the things they do is really do claim that this was something that they did not intend to cause harm to anybody else. And even though that there is, and with anybody that crosses over, we would do anything to get them back. I've found, not necessarily anyone's fault, but it's the pain that they were carrying, and they kind of just wanted to end that pain. And they do go back to so much love. And that's what we hope, right? We hope that in some way, shape or form, everyone does go back to love. So let's kind of bring the energy back up a little bit, because I want to talk now, because you've had all this wonderful experience as a medium, but you now do something that's really different. And this got me so super excited. I'm like so juiced up. I don't even know if that's like a good expression to use, but we'll use it. So I want to talk about the mediumship that you do with the divine feminine. Okay. So for those who don't really know what that is and how it can help them, can you discuss with us what that all is?
Okay, so within our soul, it's comprised of essentially two threads of energy, and we all have this, whether we're male or female. Our divine feminine and our divine masculine. And we are generally all dominant in the divine masculine. It's a world, our society, that honors the divine masculine and puts that into us from when we're kids. It's all about doing, it's all about achievement, it's all about the to-do list and busyness and all of those things. It's about power and strength, whereas the divine feminine, that part of us, it's responsible for our intuition. It's responsible for our ability to create. It's responsible for our sexuality. And when we connect with that part of ourselves more consciously as women, we become more confident, we become more naturally intuitive, and we truly step into our power to co-create with the universe and naturally align with our purpose and destiny. And having had 20 years of traditional mental mediumship and then stepping in and discovering the power of the divine feminine, I just was guided to just bring them together. So these days I mentor mediumship from the space of sponsoring it with the divine feminine. And what I honestly believe is that we will see an evolution in mediumship. While it's known now as connecting with loved ones in the spirit world, I honestly believe that because of this divine feminine aspect that's going to come through, we'll step into unique uses with it. And we will see it become more unique to individuals. It won't just be about connecting with loved ones. And I guess a prime example is if you know the work of the medical medium, Anthony William, if you've read his first book where he talks about communicating with spirit from the age of 4, but it's only for the purpose of health. I think that for me, that's the belief that I know we are going to see mediumship evolve into. And I guess for me, my part in that is combining it and merging it with the divine feminine.
I love that so much. And that's why I'm so excited, because I totally resonate with the fact that mediumship is changing. And I don't know about you, but I think even in the last 3 years, mediumship has changed dramatically. And it's exciting as we move into the 5D energy, moving into that feminine, moving into that energy of oneness and compassion and absolute passion and love. It is going to change, and we are going to see humanity becoming less governed as a box, we've got to fit into a box and this is what your life needs to look like. And we're all going to start living in this beautiful abundance and this uniqueness that is us as beings, right? So I love the work that you're doing and already bringing this new aspect to mediumship. And I don't know about you, I also kind of feel like mediumship is going to move to just being with loved ones, to other multidimensional parts of ourselves and all of this kind of exciting things. I think humanity is getting geared up for that. So I don't know if you kind of feel that too.
Oh, absolutely. That's what I'm talking about. I always think I'd like to still see the evidence within the form of mediumship.
I do believe that mediumship has to be evidential. You can't just your grandma says you got a lovely haircut today.
No, exactly. It's still got to have that level of proof with it, but then we can build on from it. And the difference for me is the fact that that sense of oneness, the fact that we're already connected to the spirit world. We are spirit.
Oh my gosh, I love you so much. I say this all the time.
Yeah, and so for me, how that translates is the fact that I actually don't need to raise my vibration to communicate with spirit. They don't need to bring theirs down and meet me halfway, because we already exist in the same spiritual reality connected. So I do think it's going to shift and change, and we're going to see mediums, if they allow themselves to step out of that box, and if they allow themselves to really be who they truly are in their purpose, it'll unfold naturally. And the key to doing that and allowing yourself to do that is stepping into the divine feminine.
Yeah. And I think, there's this is how it's always been done. And it's actually like, you know what? If we keep doing things the same way, we'll never progress. And so great lands weren't discovered by going to the same shores. Like, we've got to push ourselves. We got to see what can and can't be done. And we may get it right, we may get it wrong, but at least we're giving it a go. I think it's more us as humanity trying to meet where the universe, the spirit world, or the realms are evolved to, rather than, them evolving for us. But I think we're definitely seeing that with, the younger generations. I look at my children who are born into the 5D energy compared to my other child who's still in the 3D. And I'm like, oh my gosh, they're so like switched on, and they have such a strong connection to the earth and elements. And I'm like, whoa, I can't wait to see these kids as adults in the future and what they're going to be doing with the beyond in some way. So I don't know if you've had the opportunity to spend some time with some kids in that energy, but they're just delicious.
Well, I have a couple of 20-somethings myself, and
you don't need grandchildren quite just yet, right?
I'm getting there though. Like, I'm certainly like having moments where I'd like some, but they just need to bring me partners first. But it's certainly that they've always grown up we talk about their dreams. Their dreams are often prophetic, and they're developing that understanding, with my help of course, of what their dreams and their messages mean. And the thing is that we lost their dad last year, so the signs and everything from the universe and a connection to him is even more relevant in their life. And that just goes back to, when you do have loss, there is something about that pulls, the soul comes knocking and says that we need more to life.
Yeah, it totally does. And I love that your kids have grown up with some form of understanding and how incredible their lives are going to be as adults, right? I want to talk about this because this got me really excited, and it's a topic that I just feel myself being a student and wanting to just master this lifetime. And so I read on one of your posts recently that you say that the secret to manifesting success lies in the fiery creative energy of your sexuality.
Mm-hmm.
So please tell us more, because I need to know all the deets on this.
Okay, so if you think about it, right, you think about the most powerful moment that we do, and we do it unconsciously, we don't think too much about it, is we create life, right? So when the divine feminine, the divine masculine comes together, that's what it produces. And we often don't think about what a manifestation that is, or the energy and the power that goes into that. And generally, we're able to then transfer that creative energy through to our manifesting. And I know some of the most powerful energies that come through for me is that thread of sexuality, when a woman is in her power with that. When we harness that and can transfer it to our sense of creativity and focusing that on what our dreams and aspirations are, I think we're only just to scratch the surface of how powerful we can be. And one of the key components to successful manifesting and tapping into your abundance is self-love. The universe responds to how well we treat ourselves. So if we come at it from a place of pleasure and our sexuality and giving pleasure to ourselves and taking that energy and transferring it through to the rest of our day-to-day lives, it becomes abundance. No matter your circumstances, and then the universe just wants to respond and give you more of that.
Yeah, I totally agree. A few years ago, I got so reprimanded for it, but I wrote this post called Sex and Spirituality, and it was in 2014, I think. And I kind of feel this is what I was talking about. And oh my gosh, some people loved it. Some people were like, how dare you talk about this kind of stuff? And I was like, do you guys not understand the correlation to all of this? Like, it is so important. And I'm glad that you're talking about it. And it's the creation. And one of the reasons that we decide to come to Earth, because I don't know about you, but I kind of believe we can choose to go to other places too, is because we as humans get to have this reproduction that is physical that we don't necessarily get to have on other planets. And it's one of the reasons that we come here is to physically create things and with pleasure, right?
Yeah, totally. Like the simple thing, we do come here to experience joy, to experience love. And at the end of the day, for humans, the sexual act is an expression of love. It promotes joy, it promotes all of those things. So there's a whole heap of energy there that is there for us to tap into, and it's the kind of thing of like, I honestly believe you can meditate and connect with the divine feminine, but you can also masturbate and connect with the divine feminine, like
yeah.
and
True.
exactly. And the reality is, if we are not whole or connected to that aspect of ourselves, we are not whole.
Yeah.
That's the simple truth. So it's like, just embrace it, have fun with it, and allow. And if you come from the soul with your creating or your manifesting, then this is a component that is often missing and why we still struggle.
Yeah. And this is a topic that I could honestly, I was actually going to write a book on this. And then I was like, oh, I don't know if the world is quite ready for what I've got to say on this. But I love that you bring this up, because a lot of women, especially women who are middle-aged, and their children are grown up and they kind of don't know what to do with life anymore. They're so disconnected with their pleasure that they don't even know how to make themselves happy, or even how to feel good in their own skin. And if you can't love yourself on all levels, and this includes, knowing how your body works and how it responds to, different senses, then how can you co-create your best life with the universe? Like, how can you be interpreting all the signs and guidance and everything that you are being given to live this extraordinary life if you kind of like dismiss the whole point of doing this whole life in the first place?
Because that was certainly my experience. Like, I'm in my 50s, and it was certainly, I was married for 25 years, and just think it was about, 4 or 5 years ago, I divorced. And I guess connecting to my sexuality and my divine feminine was certainly all a response or a product of the divorce. Saying that, I feel like we naturally get guided to it, as long as you open and don't get stuck, but know that it will come, like spirit will guide you there at some point. And I think the beautiful thing is like you said, if you open up the self-love aspects enough to, love your body in all different ways, then you'll see different responses and changes from within any relationship that you might be in. You'll see new relationships come in, and it's just new levels of authenticity, because that's who you are being, and just enjoy it. Life is meant to be pleasurable on so many levels and just in different ways. We certainly don't have a problem enjoying that when it comes to, having a party and having a few drinks and, enjoying the pleasures of getting together with food and friends. This is just another version of that kind of pleasure,
Yeah. It's such a fascinating topic to me, and one I hope opens up some conversations for some people, because it is so important to understand that the whole point of this life is to create. And it doesn't always have to be create like a baby, but it's the point of creating opportunities for more love, more abundance, more joy, more freedom, more hope. And I love how if we can harness that energy, we can put it to great use to manifest things for ourselves and for the collective consciousness that is humanity. So kudos to you for starting these conversations. They are so needed. And I'm glad I'm not the only one who thinks like this, because I've been thinking like this for years. And with all my students, they will tell you there's 1 week where we explore this very thoroughly as part of home play. So, it's just so much fun. I love it. And I kind of want to ask you now something a little bit different. And I'm excited to hear what you're going to say, because as a medium, I'm like, ooh, if you could have a conversation with anyone who's walked the planet, whether they are fictional or not, who would that be and why?
I guess it would have to be Jesus. I often play that sort of, who are the 5 people you'd have at your dinner party, So one, certainly Jesus would be there. I would want to, because I look at Jesus as that his incarnation is the fullest expression of who we can aspire to be as humans in spirit. So for me, he's always someone that I would aspire to be like. And I honestly believe that we are capable of that, like that the soul is capable of all that Jesus represented. But I'd probably want to be talking to him and Mary Magdalene, because I honestly believe, she's his twin flame. And,
That's right. Can't go without the other, right?
That's it, the divine feminine and divine masculine. But certainly that would be a conversation I'd want to have for sure.
Yeah, I always say this to everyone who wants to speak to Jesus, is one of my guides I work really strongly with is John the Baptist. And funnily enough, I was doing a channeling with him a few days ago, and with my meditation students, and he talked about how life is all about pleasure, and it's important that we get back into this. And he talked about all the process about why he did the baptism and what that all represents. And he's just so fascinating. He always talks about how much he loved Mary and how she made the best bread and all of that kind of stuff, and absolutely adored Jesus. So that's always my little side bit. I was his daughter, but I unfortunately died at birth.
Okay.
And so he kind of always is there to help me along. So yeah, from what I've heard, some of the stories of Jesus are very different to what's kind of in the Bible. And I love that this is something you say we can be, because I really believe as we move into this new energy that we're creating into the planet, that we will see this beautiful energy and spirit that Jesus did bring to the planet. We'll definitely start seeing that in each other, and the quantum healing that he was able to do, because I'm like, I don't even know how he did it, right? It's just amazing. I think we're going to probably start seeing that too. Do you get a feeling on that?
Yeah, I think, evolution, it's the ripple effect, evolution, we'll start seeing it popping up, and we'll start seeing more and more people come into it. But, it starts with us. It starts with us just sharing our wisdom and living who we are, and helping others to just connect, with their soul and their spirit in a way that, they can bring through the same. And just, it's that ripple effect. And slowly but surely, we may not see it collectively in my lifetime, but it's happening.
Yeah, it's definitely moving that way, and that gets me excited. And I always say, even if we don't see it in our incarnation, I'm sure when we come back, we will.
Yeah.
Now, Kerrie, share with us, what is your hope for humanity for the future?
I'd like to see everyone connected to their soul and spirit, and being conscious and making choices from that. And that's my mission, is to, connect women to their mediumship, sponsored by the divine feminine, because that's them sitting and living from that space. And I know that if we do that, then it's love, it's out there. So those things that come with world peace, all of those things, they happen, because we're all coming from that space. That's, I guess, what I'd like to see with humanity.
And it sounds so beautiful. And wouldn't it be amazing? Not that I'm a man hater. I think men are brilliant and I love men. But I think women, they've been suppressed for quite a long time. And even men and their feminine energy have been suppressed for a really long time. As we bring in that beautiful divine feminine, oh my gosh, I can't wait to see what the world is going to look like. Because you think of even like the flora and the animals and everything receiving that energy, how that's going to be transmuted in some way. So I love that vision. And I have just had the most incredible time chatting with you. I could chat with you for hours. You're so fascinating. We've only scraped the surface. We'll have to have you on again. Where can people kind of connect with you? Where do you hang out on social media? Like, I know that you also do courses and all that kind of stuff. So where's the best place for people to find you?
Well, I guess my website is where people can get to know more about me a little bit. That's kerriewaring.com. And certainly I do hang out on Facebook. That's probably where I'm most active. You can just search Kerrie Waring and I'll come up in that, and on Instagram. And I do have an online community. It's called the Creative Heart Feminine Spirit Community. It's for all levels of people that are interested in embracing or deepening their connection to spirit and their mediumship. And as always, sponsored by the Divine Feminine. So yeah, love people to come say hi. I have a theory, no comment goes unloved. So
That is so beautiful. I love that. No comment goes unloved. Oh, I love it. Oh my gosh. Thank you so much, Kerrie, for your wisdom, your absolute love for mediumship and humanity and the evolution of our human existence. It's just so, for me, like heartwarming and fills my cup to see a fellow spiritual just guru going out there, bringing something new to the plate, being a trailblazer. And I just love it. And I wish you the utmost success. I feel like our paths will cross a few times. I hope it does.
So. I feel
so too. I feel some collaborations coming along.
Yes. Thank you, Melissa. I want to thank you for the opportunity, for the support, and definite collaboration for sure.
Oh, I love it. So thank you so much, everyone, for joining Kerrie and myself on this soulful conversation. I know that I am feeling so blessed right now, and I hope that you are too. You have this incredible force inside of you, this divine feminine energy that Kerrie talked about, and I hope that you begin to tap into that magnificence to co-create your best life. And remember to give this episode a review and share it with everyone you feel will benefit from its message. And until next time, everybody, peace, love, and blessings. Melissa.